Greetings all. Tonight we're going after the Orion Nebula, also known as M42 or the Great Orion Nebula. Now the Orion Nebula is easy to find insofar as it sets in Orion's sword. You all know what the constellation of Orion looks like. It's those three stars in a row going along. It's really easy to see. And of course that's the Orion's belt. Well, coming off of those three stars in a row, kind of at a 45-degree angle, there are three more dimmer stars, which makes the Orion's sword. Now the center of those three stars in Orion's sword is the Orion Nebula. You can see it with your unaided eye at night, even in slightly light-polluted areas. That's how bright it shines. So it's really easy to find it. It's really easy to get on target. It's easy to take a picture of it, but it's not easy to take a picture of it really good. And that's what I want to try to do tonight. I filmed the Orion Nebula in the past, and I got an okay picture. But the reason why it's so hard is if you expose long enough to catch the details in the outer areas of the Orion Nebula, you blow out the inner core of the nebula. Likewise, if you expose very short exposures so that you don't blow out the inner part of the nebula, then you don't get the details in the outer part of the area. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to take different lengths of exposures of the whole thing and then blend them together. So I'm going to take some 3-minute exposures that will get all of the details of the outer areas of the Orion Nebula. And then I'm going to take a series of 60-second exposures to now I will get the intermediate part of the areas, the areas that surround the core, because the 3-minute exposures will blow those out as well. And then finally, I'll take a series of much shorter images, maybe 20 seconds, maybe 10, maybe even 5 seconds, but we'll experiment with those tonight and see which of the short-term exposures we need to get to capture just the details in the core. And then we'll take those 3 images, the 3-minute images, the 1-minute images, and then the short exposures, whichever ones we go with, to put them all together and capture hopefully all the details in the nebula without blowing out any sections. Now that's easier said than done. I don't know if it's going to be successful, so I think I'm going out on a limb trying to do this object, not because it's hard, but because it's hard to do it really well. So that's what we're going to try to do tonight, the Orion Nebula. Okay, here we are ready to go on M42, the Great Orion Nebula. You can see it right here in Stellarium. This is how we're going to be framed up for the night, and I'll show you how I got to that. A few days ago, I took a bunch of images of Orion using this same telescope and camera. I want to piggyback on those images to go ahead and try to get enough to make a picture. Now tonight we're using Niner. This is the second time, or the second project I've used Niner on. I used Niner over 3 nights doing the Flaming Star Nebula, but I'm going to use it tonight to try to finish off the Great Orion Nebula. Now let me show you how I figured out how to use images that I had previously taken to do the framing. So we're going to go right here to the framing tab. That's where we are now. And up here where it says image source, usually you have one of these surveys up, but we're going to pick file. And then when I do load image, it's going to take me to a file select dialog box right here. Now I'm going to go find where I loaded those other files I took the other night. Right here, the Orion Nebula with the Z103. and I'm gonna pick one that this is the very first 3-minute exposure I took, so I'm just gonna pick that one. We will open, click open here, and now it's going to import this file just like it's going to solve the image for framing, and it wants to know, do we use these points. This is the center of frame for the other night, so yes, we do want to use these for our framing to make it again the center tonight. So there it is. This is the image that I took the other night. So it did plate solve it. Now notice that it's showing me the camera rotation is 83.23 degrees. That's from this image here. So I went into Stellarium and I rotated the camera until you see here I got it on 83 degrees. So that's how I duplicated the Stellarium framing from what I had the other night and what we're going to do tonight. Now what I did earlier this afternoon, I looked at what I had already done and decided what I wanted to do, and I built a target set. So we're going to try to import some stuff rather than rebuilding it from scratch. So I'm going over to the Sequence tab. First I'm going to import my target set. That here is the Orion Nebula. And that has the framing and the rotation and everything that I showed you earlier. And I have already built the exposures that I want to take here. So it's all in there. I'm going to go ahead and calibrate my guider, Autoguider, right where it's at. So that's all ready to go. And then I can tell it to start guiding when it gets to the target. Because if you don't do that, if you say slew to target and center target, then it will start filming before you manually do the calibration. So I'm going to see if I can get guiding going right where it's at and get a good calibration. Yeah, that seems to be a good star there. And again, I'm going to tell it to use multiple stars, so I need to do auto select for that to happen. There we go. Now we're going to calibrate, and I'll be back with you when our calibration is done. And I'll remind you, the only reason that I'm not allowing Nina to do this in the sequence plan is because it keeps failing out on the calibration, and only when I calibrate manually can I get it to complete the calibration. Again, I suspect that's a settings issue. I don't have something right in the settings, and I'll eventually figure that out. The other thing that I need to figure out is, why does it not know where Betelgeuse is in the Sky Atlas? One thing that I'll show you real quick, over on the Imaging tab, you've got this list of manual focus targets down here, and I can select Betelgeuse. So I put it in there just like this. There it is right there. It was hidden because I didn't scroll down. Anyhow, I guess that's the easier way to do it. Select Betelgeuse here in the list of manual focus targets. Scroll down so you can see the stupid button. And then we'll try it that way next time. Calibration is done. We're guiding. Now I want to show you some. Actually, I'm going to get this imaging plan. I'm going to get it going here. Actually, we're on Betelgeuse is not where we want to be. So I'm going to start guiding on now. Slew to target and center target. Now this is not going to choke us up because I have already calibrated. So it's just going to go to the target, and then it's just going to start guiding, and that will be fine. So here we go. Let's see if it works. So we're trying to go from Betelgeuse to the target, and actually all right, we'll let it go there this way. There's one other thing I need to do. it is doing what it needs to be doing. I'm going to have to rotate the camera, so the orientation is not going to be right. I know that. But I'll let it finish solving, start the sequence, and then I'll stop it from there. All right, so it thinks it's in the right spot. It's beginning to guide. Now it's doing the meridian flip. We're kind of done now until this finishes its meridian flip, and at least it was on the Orion Nebula when it started, so it should go back to there. And then all I'll have to do is get the camera orientation correct. So I'll be back with you in 10 minutes or 11 or whatever when the meridian flip is over. All right, I'm back with you. 11 minutes counted down. It's doing the meridian flip now. You can see here it tells us what it's doing. You can look at the bar up here, see what it's going to do. So right now it's currently in the flip. It's telling us here when it's done, it's going to recenter on our target. It's going to select a new guide star, in this case a whole bunch of new guide stars, and then it's going to resume guiding. Then it'll settle, and then I reckon it's going to start taking pictures. But I'm not going to let it do that. I'm going to pause it and terminate this sequence before it starts taking pictures because I need to get the camera orientation correct before I let it start off taking pictures. All right, so the flip is done, and it's about to do it's going to settle. It's about to do some plate solving to figure out where it's at and see what it needs to do to get back on the target. Okay, there's the first plate solve. So it didn't go to the right spot. That's okay. It knows where it's at. Made a slight correction, and this time I bet it's going to be right on the Orion Nebula. Okay, it's got where it needed to be. It's picking a bunch of new guide stars, and it started guiding. It's going to do a 10-second settle, and then it's going to start a picture. I'll let it get started on the picture before I terminate it. All right, see there it goes. I'm going to stop it now, though, because the camera's not oriented properly. So to stop this sequence. All right, now I'm going to go back to the imaging tab. We're going to take a 1-second exposure to see where we are right now. I think that was our 1-second exposure right there. Look at that. 1 second. Okay, I'm going to plate solve this. And the reason I'm going to plate solve it, I don't want it to move, is I want to get the orientation of the camera. So right here, it's going to plate. Okay, so 94.01, and we said we wanted it to be 83. So I need to move it 11 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and move rotate the camera by 11 degrees. And then I'll either be 22 degrees off or dead on when I'm done with this rotation. Okay, here we are at the camera rotator. You can see the arrow there is on, what's that, 70, 79? So if I rotate that 11 degrees, that's going to be 90. But I'm going to take a guess and go the other way. So it's on 79. So if I rotate it to 68, that's going to be 11 degrees. Uh-oh. I just messed up because I bumped my camera and it moved. But we'll rotate it around to 68 degrees, and then I'll probably have to do another correction. Oh, I was turning the wrong thing. Messing this all up. All right, there we are to 68 degrees. I turned some other stuff too, so We may have to make another correction. All right, now we're going to take another image, plate solve that. And I don't want it to move, so I got these items turned off. Okay, there's the image. Let's plate solve it. And watch the orientation. See, does it go around to 83 now? Oh, we got pretty close. So I just need to rotate it 1 degree now, and we'll be right where we want to. So I'm going to move it counterclockwise again, just 1 degree, and we'll be there. All right, I rotated it 1 degree counterclockwise. Let's take another picture. There it is. We'll plate solve it and watch the orientation here and see, does it move to 83. There it is. 83.23 is what we were shooting for, so that's within 0.15 of a degree. I think that's as close as I'm going to get it. So now I'm going to turn on sync. I'm going to turn on reslew to target, plate solve again, and then that will make it recenter on our target. So here we go. And maybe I didn't move it enough that it has to. Yeah, I did move it enough, twisting that, so it has to move just a little bit to get back centered. And I'm betting it's going to be right this time. Okay, it thinks it's in the right spot. So I'm going to turn on guiding again. There it goes, guiding. So now let's get the pictures going. Get back to the sequence. Now we're already guiding, we're already on target, so I'm going to turn these items off. I just want it to start taking pictures. And there it goes. We'll see if it works out. And as the night wears on, I will keep you updated as to what I'm learning about exposure time when I process those shorter exposures and figure out which one we should use. So I think that's it for now until we start getting some pictures in to look at. Okay, we're getting ready to get our first 3-minute HA exposure. What you're seeing now is the file I pulled in from the other night, but our first HA 5-minute exposure for tonight is coming in right about now. Let's watch it come in. So that is the HA, 3-minute HA. I've got a lot. There's a lot of signal there. A lot of signal. I'm definitely going to get some more of those. Okay, let me tell you what I did. I didn't want to wait until we went through all of those other pictures to get an idea on the exposure time that's going to work for that core. So I went ahead and I put 5 each of the 30, the 15, and the 10 seconds up at the top. So we'll go ahead and go through them now. And by the time those finish, it'll go back and do some more narrowband so we can do some analysis. So there's the first 30-second image. So let's go take a look at it and see what we're looking for is to see if that core is blown out. So this is a 30-second image. You know, it's to me, it's not completely blown out, but I think maybe it's a little brighter than I would like it to be. So I'm anxious now to see the 15-second exposures for the core. There it is. You see it got a little bit darker. Let's scroll in here. Yeah, you can see some detail. You know what? I'm wondering if 10 seconds is what we're going to end up going with, because maybe still a little bit oversaturated. So I'm anxious now to see what the 10-second ones look like. All right, now it's moved on to the 10-second exposure. So let's see what a 10-second looks like. There it is right there. Yeah, I tell you what, I think the 10-second exposures are going to capture all of that detail in the core without blowing it out. So I think we're going to go ahead and go with those 10-second exposures to get the core. So there we have it. I'm just going to let it run now. I think we've got the answers we need on the exposure times. We've got the plan in there. It's just a matter of time now to let it run and finish. We've looked at each of the different types of exposures. Anyhow, if nothing else weird or strange comes up, then I will see you at the end.